going to call the City Council meeting to order for Monday, February 26, 2024. Please rise and join me in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember White.
Here.
Councilmember Cook.
Here.
Councilmember Bailey.
Here.
Councilmember Osborne. Here. Councilmember Thomas.
Here. Thank you. I see no presentations this evening.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any questions?
How about we approve the agenda? Okay, second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. Consent agenda. I'll second.
Everybody have a chance to take a look at it? Any questions for anybody on the consent agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Reports, Mr. White. Thank you. Mr. Cook.
Nothing for me this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Fairley.
No reports.
Thank you. Ms. Linda.
Yes, I went to Gary's Algona deal the other day. The music was terrific. Really enjoyed it. He had everything all ready, lots of snacks and things like that. And I hope he does it again, because I think everybody enjoyed it. A lot of applause, and Jessica was there. But I thought it was, everything was put together with very good precision.
Perfect.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you. Mr. Tully.
Well, yeah, I had the honor to sit in on a auditor's questionnaire interview last week. Very specific questions going towards our abilities to look at all of our audits, information about finance and stuff like that. I thought I did okay. It was quite informative. We had a nice conversation. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Russ.
Public Works side, the modular building for Public Works will be delivered on Wednesday. So we'll get that set up, and that's where my office will be once we get that delivered and set up. We started jetting the storm lines on 9th Avenue, starting to clear those things up. Making sure our storm drains are clear and stuff. We're going to start going throughout the city, start cleaning storm drains, jetting them. So we got the parts in for the fire hydrant on West Valley. We needed to add an extension, a 16-foot extension. So we got that in. We'll get that installed and also put a concrete pad down like it should be. So if it does get hit again, it should break away like it's exposed to at the breakaways on the fire hydrant itself. So, and those parts are a lot cheaper to buy than the whole fire hydrant. So we'll hopefully get that done this week. Other than that, just kind of filling potholes with winter weather, wherever we can. So I think that's about all I have, unless you got questions.
I have a question. Is it a pass-through for the whoever hit its insurance, pay for that, or did they not have insurance?
I do not know that question.
Normally, we go after it through insurance. We get whatever cost, the fire hydrant cost, and then we pass it on to the insurance company.
Now, question is that was a police report on that?
Yeah, there was a police report on it, a collision report. It was a DUI, and it's still being adjudicated. So there's two ways to go after them: crime victim, get compensation through the courts, or go after them in insurance.
Right. Sure. The police were usually asked whether they had insurance.
Yes, I'm just not gonna comment on an open invest, yeah, in case we can enjoy it too.
That's how we did the last time.
Okay, one question. So on your jetty, how are the lines looking? Are they pretty clean, or were they half plugged, or?
There's a little bit of sediment on the ones that we have done, but for the most part, they're fairly clean. They're not terribly plugged up. So. But there is some sediment on the bottom, probably, depending 2 to 4 inches of sedimentation on the bottom.
So after you jet the lines, do you have to do any cleaning of the ditches themselves to keep it flowing, or?
We will. We'll have to clean it. Yeah, we'll clean some ditches, and then also we will factor out the storm basins and stuff. So when you pull back on the jetter line, it pulls all that sediment into the basin, and then we take the Vector truck and clean up all that sediment there too.
Yeah, I gotta do it the old fashioned way, shovel with my gun. That's no fun. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Ray? Chief Shropshire?
All right, so from the police department side, first off, good evening, council and mayor. From the police department side, next week we'll be doing our first in-service training of the year, which is going to be done by an outside instructor. His name is Don Gula. We do this every other year, part of our accreditation process, but it's called CIT Force Options. We'll also be doing our annual TASER research. This last weekend, Officer Gerard received his certification through the NRA to be a firearms instructor. So we're back with a licensed firearms instructor, certified firearms instructor. So we're good to go there. This, unfortunately, last Thursday, Officer Fajardo told me that she's in the process with the city of Tacoma. She's very happy here, but the $25,000 signing bonus and a little bit bump in pay was, and she lives in the city of Tacoma. So it's strictly a money decision for her at this point. She's very happy with the work here, and if she doesn't get Tacoma, she'll stay. That being said, I want to be transparent, and I've already started putting feelers out, but what I want to make sure is, because we have this extra officer, we have time to make sure we have that right fit. So we're not in a hurry. So putting the feelers out, but not in a hurry on that respect. I mentioned during the workshop, I'll mention it again, I was going to save it for this. We have a line item in the capital budget for the legislature. We have upwards of $200,000 to start planning and some site prep for the North End flood mitigation project, aka the retention pond on the property we just bought. So I'm very grateful to our legislators. If you get a chance, Senator Wilson, Representative Reeves, and Representative Taylor all helped us get that money, just like they did last legislative session to finish off the park down south. So we have a great working relationship with our representatives. So if you get a chance, please tell them thank you. So, that's all I have. I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Chief Shropshire. Jessica?
So adult night was a success. My husband and I were there, and we did enjoy ourselves. The band was pretty cool, and they're pretty comical in between their sets. So it was a good time. The Easter egg hunt is March 30th. It's typically in the morning time from about 10 to noon. I don't know if Gary set the time yet, but I'll be sure to let you guys know. New phones are expected in the next couple of weeks. Then we'll be officially transitioned to the new system. So that'll be good. And then the website is still being worked on. We're still looking at May timeframe. Working hard on it. So.
What's the Easter egg hunt for day?
March 30th.
Thank you. David, do you have anything to add? All right, 280 forward. 213, 10 the South County Recycling and Transportation monthly check-in. Their stormwater retaining pond is complete, and so they'll start receiving their own stormwater and filtering it out. We'll still get a little bit, but not as amount we're getting now. And then the West Valley Highway straightening projects are gonna be starting this spring, so we'll see the West Valley shut down on and off. Some traffic, but that's gonna go on throughout this one. Everybody's supposed to take with 67, but I'm sure we'll get our fair amount of traffic down. 213, I attended domestic violence. I'm on the domestic violence initiative regional task force. Talked about the court backlog of DV cases is 4,700. They're still trying to get caught up from COVID, and they're still trying to hire more people to get in and help them out. They'd like to keep that backlog at about 3,000. Amazing to me the number of cases that are out there. As the more I'm involved with some of these different things. On 215, we met with the American Pacific, and myself met with King County Metro to discuss how we're doing with the community vans. Gary has done a great job promoting and getting usage of those units. Out of the 8 cities that have that, we are the highest usage cities. Another thing that came out of it is that there's a new state law that if you have a public charging station, then you're supposed to make it public. And one thing that I would thank Russ for is that we went out and got, that was part of the reason we went out. We wanted to have 2 more charging stations. One at the police station and one over at Magic Park. Those are $250,000 a piece that we now got grants for. Russ, when do you think they'll be putting those in?
Possibly this summer.
Okay. What I did want is what they were suggesting that we do is that we have our charging station, and then we put 2 separate lines. One, or have one line, and then, I don't want, because of the amount of usage of our electric car, I didn't want to have somebody parked next to it, plugged in, and then we make a commitment to take somebody to the doctor or give them a ride somewhere. We can't do that, so I don't think for them that's experience we really have to do that. I am also on the South Cities Association Board of Directors. Things we discussed on the 21st, where King County Sewer is proposing a 1.5% increase in 2025. And they're doing this because they have what they call combined sewer overflow. And what combined sewer overflow is when we get so much rain that it overflows the system, and then it overflows and it ends up in the sewage plant. They end up dumping raw sewage in the Wabash River and out in the sound. And so they're trying to get more money so they can build more capacity. So I just want people to be prepared for that one. Also, King County Public Health, because the county's lost some of their government money, is cutting positions in King County Public Health. So that's going to put a strain on people getting some services. I don't know which services yet, but as I find out more, I'll pass it on. PSE is also discussions to impose a 20% rate increase in 2025. It's just never ending. I don't know how people are going to afford it. I'm also on the Regional Law, Safety, and Justice Committee. One thing that we were made aware of was the WISE program. And this is for victims of domestic violence. In many cases, people who have been arrested for DV are actually the victims. So they can show up at somebody's house and either the male or the female could have a cut, and and the other person will get arrested. I don't think that's everything that happens about it, but sometimes the wrong person gets arrested, and so they're working. What they're doing is they're working to look at those cases and make sure that they've got the right person. Because if you arrest the wrong person, if it's a female, then they miss work, they lose their job, they lose their house. There's just a lot of things involved in that. So I thought that was interesting. That was supported. The funds for for the WISE program was supported 85% from the state grant, and then the YWCA is the one that's in charge of that. And that's all I have. Any questions?
20%.
You just have energy.
Is that oil, gas, and
Yeah. Yes.
How do people pay to use the charging station that we install? Is it nothing, it's just.
No, they can't use the one we have.
Right, but I mean, the one we're gonna install.
The new ones will be a credit card or, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but they'll pay for it. And I don't know, do we get any percentage of the funding out of that?
You know, I'm not real sure on that, but something we need to look into.
It'd be nice if we could get, 5 or 10% or something that goes towards the general chapter. At least put it towards some safety. Oh, the last thing is that, next Wednesday on March 6th, there's an SCA social dinner. And I know Mr. Mike's gonna join me at that dinner, and, I don't know if anybody else would like to go. I need to know by tomorrow.
What
It's
is
from
it?
6 to 8, South Cities Association
Oh,
dinner. From 6 to 8, yeah,
where's it at?
it's in Red. Yeah, no, I agree. It's like 4. But it's more for the new people who come in, it's mandatory that I go, because I won't go. Let me go by tomorrow, because I've got to pay for it. That's all I have to do. Move on to audience participation. The city council encourages public participation during the meetings of the city council and welcomes your comments. This time is set aside for you to speak to the city council on any issue. The council ordinarily takes non-agenda matters under advisement before taking action. You are also invited to comment on action items as they are considered during the meeting. Individual speakers will be limited to 3 minutes in addressing the city council. In addressing the council, please speak clearly and audibly, state your name and address for the record. Yes, sir.
James Harper, 312 Junction Boulevard. It's getting tough to get under 3 minutes, but we'll give it a go. Algona has several great parks. Some of those parks share a border with residential properties. Some of those shared borders are marked by wood fences. I can think of 2 possibilities as to those shared border wood fences. Either the city has some legal ownership or control of interest in those shared border wood fences, in which case it would seem to me that the city might have some legal duty to maintain them. And in my opinion, the city would definitely have some moral duty to help maintain those fences. The other possibility, the scary possibility, is that the city does not have any ownership or control interest in those short shared border fences. Let me explain. The city has installed city signs on those shared border fences. By installing city signs on those shared border fences, the city has exercised dominion and control over the fences as if those fences belong to the city. The installation of those signs is to the city's benefit, in part because it reduces the installation costs to the city. The installation of those signs is to the detriment of those private property owners, in part because it decreases the life expectancy of the fences. In short, it is possible the city has, in effect, seized those fences without due process or fair and just compensation. If that is the case, it is possible that the city has violated the constitutional rights of those affected private property owners. At my request, city staff has already conducted a thorough search for records that would confirm whether or not the city has any ownership interest in those fences, and no such records were found. It seems likely that the city might have to have a land survey done to establish the location and ownership of those shared border fences. If it is determined that the city has violated the constitutional rights of those private property owners, it would be my suggestion that the city attempt to negotiate a fair and just settlement with each of the affected persons.
I find that interesting. You know, we went out and last time we were here, you mentioned that there was a fence that had fallen over. So we went out.
I meant who? I'm sorry.
You mentioned that there was a fence that had fallen over. And am I not correct? Did he mention that there was a
No, during his records request, we went around to the parks to see.
Oh, okay.
If any
And
of
we
the-
found a fence.
Yeah.
That had fallen over, and it was a private fence, and we put it back. We helped him put it back in his yard. There's no, what fences did we put signs on?
None that I know of.
And I would encourage you, Mr. Harper, if there's anything that you see may be out of place, please feel free to come to staff and let us know so we can fix it, because we're all new within the last 5-8 years, so it'd be helpful to find these things so we can fix previous administration mistakes. And am I wrong?
No, you're fine.
So I would encourage you to come to us and bring these to our attention.
Okay. I have no idea where those fences are, who owns them.
Did you go around and find signs?
Yeah, I can think of, off the top of my head, I can think of 2 parks, and 4 properties that I identified as having signs on the shared fence. And those 2 parks, I believe one is the one as you're going in, and I keep forgetting it's Stanley.
Is it the park in your subdivision, the triangle park?
One that track, not
And
the
is
one
there a
at the
sign on
end.
that wood fence? Is that what?
No,
you're
there's
saying?
actually both of those parks
Or it says
now.
no metal detecting or whatever?
Both of those parks have signs on them, and I think that affects 3 properties, and one is the one.
But what I'm saying is what signs are on there is what we're trying to figure out. I mean, we can go look tomorrow.
Park rules. I really don't know.
Yeah, it would be good if the guys during their park checks can just.
Yeah. Because that would have been done previous, this administration for sure. And if there's something there affected.
What do they call it, the tot lot over there off of Stanley, or?
There's 2 parks, 2 triangular parks in that neighborhood, and I think both of those parks have signs, city signs posted on the wood fences. And then on the west side of Algona Boulevard down Main Street, there's a
On the
park
trail?
down there that I believe has the same situation going on, and I believe one lot would be affected at that location.
So let me get this straight, so you're saying that if you
I'm sorry, okay.
even if a sign says one, no, it's off.
Sorry.
I got you.
I can get closer.
Sorry, 7th Avenue, because you put a sign on it, you said co-own that. It makes the city responsible for.
Here's what I can tell you. I'm making it very non-determinative language in what I'm saying, because I don't know.
I don't know either, I'm just asking.
But what I can tell you is that there are courts that have held that cities that use chalk to mark tires for parking enforcement. I know of legal cases that have found that was considered a government seizure. So
it's lifting a windshield wiper and putting a ticket on the window too.
So, I don't know who owns those fences. What I can tell you is that.
What's your point, though? I mean, what do you want to get out of this?
Well,
Just making a statement, or?
I think if the city does not have any ownership in those fences, one, the signs need to come off.
and be properly haunted. Two, if the city has inadvertently made a seizure by doing that, those are potential cases that could come back to haunt the city until the statute of limitations expire. If the city has any ownership in those fences, I don't think there's a problem. The city doesn't have any ownership in those fences, I think there is a problem.
Unless they have permission.
Unless there's permission,
Sure.
and then theoretically, because it'd be an ownership interest, some legal right pertaining to real property, it should be in writing. City staff has already looked and they don't mind.
Yeah, or they just verbally okayed it and they went ahead and put the sign up.
You know, I'm not licensed in Washington State, but I would say it's my understanding that it would be not binding to transfer real property verbally. So it would have to be in writing to be enforceable. My understanding, I'm not giving you all legal advice.
I'm sure what you'll find in the near future is that we'll go out and take a look, and if the signs are on somebody's fence, and they'll be removed, and there'll be a post put in the ground, and whatever's necessary on our side and our property to relieve that problem.
I would encourage you to check with the property owner too, to see if it's okay, and then just give them a note that it's okay to put the sign up there.
That may solve the problem.
Because there is an installation cost. You mentioned that. There is an installation cost to actually put it on a post and maintain around that post, where it's just put up on a fence with the property owner's permission, if we don't own the fence. That's what's.
Y'all are in charge, but if it were me, if I were in one of those seats, I would want to consult with legal representation on behalf of the city and find out what was the proper course of action. Because if you just go out there and get them to sign a paper, and if the city doesn't own any ownership interest in those fences, that really doesn't address what's happened, that the signs were up there. In essence, the city had already seized the property.
I would think some research would be required, because if my memory serves me correct, and Councilmember Fairley, Councilmember Thomas, when that subdivision was created, that park was built by the developer and then turned over to the city. So if the developer placed said sign on the city and the city never placed said sign on it, and that's how it was turned over, then that's the responsibility of that developer. Have we maintained this sign is a proper question. To my knowledge, Russ, we have never maintained any signs at those parks because they would be on posts. So I think the research is, did the developer turn the park over in that condition? And if so, then the city's released from any liability in that respect. Now, to your point about a Supreme Court case in Michigan, I had to look it up to make sure I had the right state, but I was familiar with it, where chalking tires was considered by a court of appeals as a seizure, which is making its way to the Supreme Court of the land, right? Would null and void all parking enforcement in that respect, to your point, Councilmember Thomas. So I think the long and short of your answer is, the mayor's correct, Jessica's correct. We will go out there, and yes, you have seen, we spend a lot of money talking to our attorney. I don't think we would get anybody to sign something that wasn't prepared by our legal counsel. Second off, if there's signs there, my suggestion is in charge of public safety would be to remove them until we had said documentation in place. So, again, I'm just talking as your police chief and somebody who's very familiar with the topic that you brought up. My advisement is, being somebody that's been here a very long time, it's my recollection that park was built by the developer and then turned over to the city for maintenance.
And that may make a difference, and that may not make a difference.
That's,
I know the park on Seventh, it was a street right of way, and they decided to put a pocket park in there. And because
part of it
kids
was-
couldn't get down here.
Yeah, and part of it was tax, property that came back to the city because the property owner didn't pay their taxes on the 7th, on that part. It was city right away, and the owner of the property, it got defaulted back to the city by the county for lack of payment on taxes. So,
the
I
parks
mean,
in Stanley, the fences were built by the developer.
correct.
Yeah.
It's not by the homeowners, they were built by the developers. The park was, everything was done in the park, was turned over to the city, and then the city was responsible for future maintenance, mowing the lawn and.
Only because
Right.
the guy working for the city volunteered to do that.
And I think that may be,
That
may affect the equation, and it may not affect the equation.
I wasn't on the council.
2009.
No,
Nine?
it was.
Yeah.
This is a long time ago. But,
And to address if you're talking about the fence that was down on Stanley, I didn't have anything with notifying the city about that.
I thought you did. I just assumed.
And as I saw it, I thought that I had no idea that the city did or did not have any involvement in the repair of that fence. I drive by that going to and from my house. I saw that, but,
I think that came from when you came in and said, yeah, I need, probably from your records request. I had something about the fences, or you wanted to know about how many fences the city owned or whatever it was, and I just assumed that was all part of it, so.
well, I anticipated that when this issue when the city became aware of this issue, that the search for those records was gonna have to happen. It was just part of the process that was gonna have to happen. And I thought if the city did have records that said, hey, the city has an agreement to use these fences, or there's some record that says the city owns these fences, there's not a problem. I don't need to come down here and talk. No records were found. I'm not saying it is a problem, it's a potential problem. It's a potential problem, and it's a double-edged. If it is a problem, if those private citizens wanted to make it a bigger problem and get some cash out of it, they could. And that would be an even bigger problem. And so it's really two issues. Is it a problem? It's multiple issues. Is it a problem? Solve the problem for now. And then for what has happened in the past, do we need to do anything to resolve that? That's the way I envision it.
Well, staff's gonna go forward, we're gonna take a look at it, and then we'll go from there, and we'll keep you advised. Thank you for your knowledge. Appreciate it.
Happy to help the city resolve issues.
Appreciate it. Anybody else online? Discussion items, A would be the 2024 comprehensive plan, introduction chapter, capital facilities and utilities, natural environment, and Algona parks and recreation elements.
Alright, so this is the second review of those chapters. We're just looking for any feedback. You've had it for a couple of weeks and have read it very thoroughly.
On page 14 at the bottom, for the footnotes, the MSRC 2023 is listed twice. I think it would be more correct to list it once and then have the footnote 4 and the footnote 5. Thank you. Other than that, it's really good. I like it. Lots of information, lots of good information. I enjoyed really reading it. I know the planning commission did a lot of work on this, so
Yeah,
thank you.
yes.
several, just little housekeeping things. On the header, you've got this section 4 item A.
Oh, I apologize. That's for the accounts packets.
Okay, it's not gonna be on.
No,
Okay,
no.
good. How's that one?
Yeah.
On page, let's see, page 62. Do we have an existing inventory of the utilities now? I know it's a lot of wishful thinking here. You know, as part of the inventory, proposed locations. We got anything started on those? Or is this just, this is what we're gonna try to do? That's my question.
No, I don't think we have an inventory. Crane Osborne might have a little bit of an inventory, but once we start doing our valve maintenance program and stuff, we'll start developing an inventory of our assets and stuff. So, and a fire hydrant maintenance program and things.
Under page 63, under the potable water supply, have we determined how many lead goosenecks we have out there? You know, there's an abatement process now that's going through to get all lead disconnected from water.
There is. We have to do a lead inventory, and as far as I know, we don't have any lead.
Because any houses that are built like 55 and older,
Right.
which I know the city has a few of them. If they haven't been updated, those are the first ones I would check.
Right.
So, okay. Page 69 talks about a biennial 2-year budget. Right now, I think we just have an annual budget.
Yes, sir.
Are the handouts a different package than what council has?
Yeah, I'm not seeing the page 69 as a map.
Yeah,
Is this been given before, is that?
This must be what I've been given.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you because this is the stuff they gave us last time.
Yeah, sorry.
I went home and I put it in a binder.
Okay, this is, the Algona capital improvement plan, 69 on my page, but it's probably 50-something years. But anyway, I think you're following me though. All right. So we'll probably have to change that. Now on the conditions and trends for natural environmental elements, or whatever it is behind that. It says, can we use another photo? Because this is specific. That's the little asphalt trail that goes to the library, to now back in the library.
Yeah, we will definitely get that fixed.
Sorry, I mean, you asked. I'm just-
No,
No, it's-
Great input.
I think we got 2 more, sorry. There's one of those parks. This is one. I see it right there. Thing on the fence. Looks like it's attached to the post, though, not the actual wood. So you got this highlighted section in Parks and Recreation element.
What page are you on?
Well, mine is 107.
Huh?
Mine is 107. It's all highlighted yellow in mine. Are there numbers on the updated one? It's under community feedback and how they got their numbers.
it's highlighted,
There it is. What page is that?
96.
Okay, you're about 11 away here.
Oh, yes, they were waiting for the final community survey.
I know that ended last
They
Thursday.
did, yep.
I couldn't get it in by tonight. Just kidding. I had March 11th. March 11th then, is probably what we'd see.
We should get Atwell to do a presentation on the results.
So I know we're on a time crunch to get some of this through.
This is until the final comp plan is presented, this is the last time for these elements, so, if you continue to find things, just email me and let me know, but yeah, I think it's a good idea to have Atwell present the
All right.
results of that survey, that'd be good.
And the last one I got kind of answered my question here, but we, instead of asking the nice lady on the Zoom meeting. The community, the Algona Wetland Reserve, David E. Hill, wetland there. It's a community park, so it has to service up to 90% of the population within a half mile, right? And that's 468 residents. And I'm looking at I drew a little map here, but I kind of showed it on this one. It's not taking up very much of Algona at all. Most of that input is, that's it. But, I mean, we're talking a small chunk in the southeast portion of Algona there, and that little section of that little housing development there. And then all the rest is going to be Pacific. So is that going to go into our comp plan then?
Yes,
I
it
think
will.
I probably should look at those numbers a little closer. I think we got far fewer than this number here, 468 in that little small section of town there. So anyway, so that the little numbers they give you highlight, if you look real close, you can see the roads in here, but it's not too clear. So I did one on Google Earth, did the same thing, but it's just doesn't make sense. It's not computing to me to be on our comp plan in that fashion. So either that number has to be reduced, or the category needs to be, the service area type needs to be reduced to some other designation. I don't know. Just a thought.
Sorry, I'm not following. Where is it showing the?
Page, I got 121, so 11 back, probably 110.
110 is where the soil map is.
So the very backside of the Algona, or the
It's this one right
wetlands part.
You had it. It was
Oh,
right.
here it is. The numbers.
That's this one here. That talks about the size and the number of people. And I had to take that point from the very corner of that parcel to get that many people, not to the center of the wetland. Talking about stretching it a little bit. But anyway, just for future stuff, we might want to make sure we get all those numbers right. And then maybe possibly designate it differently. I don't know. I may be totally off base. Who knows? That was it. Was that enough? Sorry.
You are good.
The only thing I came up with after building up all the rest of them was, on the proposed facilities, I've got it as page 58, so I don't know what that would be.
Mine. 47.
Yeah. It says there was at the time, the school district was not prepared. We're talking about Auburn School District was contacted during the update to collaborate on projects benefiting Algona school age population. But there was at the time they had no information, so. Has that been updated or?
As far as I'm aware, they have no plans to do any facilities in Algona, so.
Okay.
But I can triple check on that.
But I do need to add, it is very well written. They spent a lot of time on this, and I appreciate that. For sure.
It's easy to read.
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
A lot easier to read than anything I've seen in the past. Anything else? I have no new business, no old business, ordinance and no ordinance and resolutions.
I think we missed one there.
Oh, I missed one where?
Yeah, B9B.
Oh, sorry. Planning Commission work plan. Sorry.
Oh.
Ready to go home.
I'll make it quick then. So this work plan presented tonight is exactly how we left it with the joint meeting we had. The wetland mitigation banking was the only questionable thing. I quizzed Eric about it since he was the one, well, it was with Blue Line that presented it in the first place. He stated that there's a lot of legwork that needs to get done and doesn't think we'd be able to get it implemented for probably a couple of years, but he said he can do this summer, bring it forward to discuss it with the planning commission again, just to see where we're at, so. I left it on there, if you'd like to take it out, totally your call. So, yeah. Any questions, you want me to go through it, or?
Questions, we're good? Okay, now I'll go to the next page. We have no new business, no old business, ordinances and no ordinances and resolutions. Next workshop. There's something we talked about today.
For me, I think I'm on in April to do the speed trailer. What I didn't report during my report, there's a list that's going to be posted on the website tomorrow and on social media. Here's where the speed trailer, it actually started getting deployed today. We're collecting the data. So as I promised last council meeting, at that April 1st, the first workshop in April, I'll come back and I'll show you some speed data based on different locations throughout the city. So unless council wants something from me specifically for the up and coming workshop, and I'm amenable if you want a topic. So
If it pleases the council, I'd like to bring something up to at least discuss, and that would be our mandatory garbage pickup ordinance that we have, and see what we could do, because we have people that don't use the service, and there's no repercussions for that. So I'm just wondering if, as a council, that we can make it voluntary at the point, but still keep track of that, because I'm surprised Chris wasn't here tonight talking about service that he has.
Well,
And I just got my bill it's gone up $20 more, and it's getting that ridiculous.
We just started negotiations on, ours terminates in 2026. And we just started negotiations. We're limited to two services, Republic or Waste Management.
Or
And
self-serve.
we're gonna have a company come in and actually that does the negotiations for us. And then, the waste companies pay for that, so it won't be any cost to us. So I'll update you on that as we go forward.
I'd still like to put it on the table and still review the ordinance we have. See what our obligations to the citizens are with that ordinance.
So a briefing from Zach.
Sure.
Okay.
I'd be interested to see.
I'm sorry?
I'd be interested to see
Yeah.
what Zach says. Thank you for bringing that up. Anything else, any other for the council tonight? We're adjourned.